Home ownership is a dream for almost every adult. However, apart from the affordability issues, the process is further complicated by the perceived inaccessibility to information. So, in this week's video, I'll be discussing how to purchase a house in the US. To assist me in ably communicating my points is US Realtor Olivia McConnell. Olivia has been a realtor in the US for quite a while and has helped many families to achieve their goal of home ownership. Welcome, Olivia.
Thank you for having me, Kayla. I'm excited to have this discussion with you.
If you are interested in learning more, keep watching. All right. Thanks for staying, future millionaires, and welcome back to my channel. As I said before, this week I'm talking to Olivia McConnell, who is a realtor in the US. Welcome back, Olivia.
Hi, Kayla. Nice to be here with you.
All right. So, my very first question to you, Olivia, what is the first step that I should take when I'm trying to purchase a house in the US?
Well, the first thing you need to do when you're trying to purchase a house here in the US is to go ahead and pull a free copy of your credit report from one of the reporting bureaus. And you need to do a complete evaluation of your credit history. So at least 6 months prior to you going ahead and getting with a lender, you want to get your finances in order. So you want to calculate your debt to income ratio, first thing. So your debt to income ratio is your monthly expenses divided by your monthly income. And then you would multiply that by 100. So for instance, if you have a $2,000 expense, that would include your debt as well. So $2,000 and your income is $6,000. Then you would divide that 2,000 by 6,000 and you would get 0.333 something. And then you would multiply that by 100 and then you would get 33%, right? That's just an example. And the lender is looking for a 43% DTI. So if you're below the 43%, so that calculation gave you 33%, you're good. So the lower you are, the better. If you're higher, you need to go ahead and reduce your debt somehow. So if you have credit card, high credit card bills, go ahead and try to pay those down. And the next important thing that I want to state here is go ahead and establish an emergency fund if you haven't already established one, because the last thing you want to do is have an emergency once you move into your new home and you've already invested all of your savings, all of your life savings into buying the house. So go ahead, establish your emergency fund at this point as well.
Okay. And
Yeah.
funny enough, I already did a video on how to make an emergency fund. So I'm going to link it above. So for the persons who don't know what an emergency fund is or don't know how to go about making one, I'll link a video for you. But Olivia, as it relates to buying a home, I see that the process can be lengthy, can be tedious, it can be a little rough. Why can't I just rent a house instead?
Well, you can always go ahead and rent a house instead. But my question is, why would you want to be paying someone else's mortgage? Because when you're renting, that's essentially what you're doing. And it's important to note that a lot of times the amount that you're paying in rent is usually what your mortgage payment will be.
Very
So
true.
yeah, so it makes sense. I think it makes sense to go ahead and purchase. Now, one of the biggest advantages of owning your own home is building equity. You know
Very.
that your house is an appreciating asset. So that means that your property is gaining value over time. Of course, you know that depends on your local market conditions, how much money you put into the property. If you want to do some improvements, that improves your equity as well. So that's one of the biggest benefits. Also, tax breaks. In the US, I'm not sure about Jamaica, but in the US, you can deduct your mortgage interest and your property taxes each year. So that's one of the benefits. And of course, ownership, privacy, and of course, freedom. When you're renting, you can't really do much with the property. But when you own your property, no one can dictate anything to you. Unless, of course, you have an HOA or you're in a condominium. But if you have a single family home, you can do whatever you want to your house versus renting.
Okay, that is pretty amazing. How is home ownership? How is the process of home ownership different for persons who are not American citizens?
The process is not much different if you are a green card holder or a permanent resident. So all of the benefits that a citizen has, you will have access to those. Whatever programs that exist that a citizen have access to, you will have those access as well. If you're not a permanent resident or if you do not have a green card, then the easiest way to purchase in the US is with cash. That's the easiest way around it.
Okay, I understand. What are some of the benefits of having a joint mortgage though? For example, if I prefer to buy with someone as opposed to buying by myself, what are some of the benefits of that?
Well, there are two main types of joint ownership or joint mortgage, as you said. The first one is joint tenancy, which is basically the one that most couples use, the type of ownership that most couples use, or married couples to be specific.
Oh,
With that one, you have equal rights to ownership. You also have the right of survivorship, where if one party passes, then the property automatically transfers to the surviving party.
okay.
Right. And then with the second type, it's called a tenancy in common, sorry. And with that one, it's most used in situations where there are several people coming together to purchase a property. It could be family or friends, and everyone has some money to put towards the purchasing price. Now, with this one, you do not have equal rights to ownership. So
Oh,
essentially, the percentage that you come in with is the percentage of ownership that you have in the property.
okay.
And the other factor is that it does not have rights to ownership, rights to survivorship, I'm sorry. So if one party passes, it doesn't automatically go to the remaining parties. That person can will his interest in the property to whoever it deems fit.
Okay, okay, I understand that. But before we go any further, just want to remind our viewers to like the video, leave a comment if there are additional questions that you would have liked to hear, and also share the video with a friend. So, Olivia, what are some of the unknown costs associated with purchasing a property in the US?
Of course, the biggest cost, which everyone knows, is the down payment. And that's determined by your lender and the type of mortgage that you are approved for. However, there's also lender costs, there's title fees, which includes your closing costs. There's also the survey, the appraisal, and the um, inspection fees. There is the escrow fee, and escrow is basically a safe place where monies and documents are kept
Oh,
and usually held by a lawyer or a bank.
like a safety deposit?
Basically,
Oh,
yes. And there is also the EMD, which is the earnest money deposit. This is basically, I would like to say 1% of the sales price that you put into escrow, a safe keeping place, to prove to the to prove to the seller that you're interested and you're not going to back out of this contract.
okay.
And then, of course, there is the commission that you pay to your agent. That's me. You're paying me to do the background work. So you have to keep that cost in mind as well.
Okay, that is pretty amazing. But how much savings should I have to cover the closing costs specifically and other legal fees, maybe?
Generally, I recommend 8%, and this is not set in stone, but 4% of that would go towards your down payment and 4% will go towards your closing costs.
Okay. What about the legal fees?
We don't have legal fees associated with purchasing a property in the US because you don't need a lawyer to purchase a property in the US. If you need a lawyer just to have someone in your corner, go right ahead, no problem. But generally, I've never had a client work with a lawyer before.
That is pretty amazing because here, once you're not purchasing a property through the NHT, you need to have a lawyer.
Wow, I've never worked with a lawyer before.
So that means that that's a reduction in cost to purchase in the US.
Yes. Of course, maybe the mortgage lender has the lawyers, and there's lawyers on my end that I have nothing to do with. The only review, I guess, they review each contract that we go under, but I have nothing to do with any lawyers at all.
Okay. Are there any special benefits that purchasers can benefit from?
Yes, you have some government subsidized loans, and essentially what they do is allow persons who may not have 20% down payment for a conventional loan to
Mhm.
become homeowners. So, for instance, you have the FHA loan, which is backed by the Federal Housing Administration. And with this loan, all you need is 3.5% down payment. Isn't that awesome?
I know, right?
Yes. And importantly, you only need around a 640 credit score. Some lenders go as low as 580. So this is allowing so many people to purchase property. It's important to note here, though, that you will have to have an insurance. So this insurance is called a private mortgage insurance. Basically, it's the government guaranteeing the lender that you're not going to default on the loan
Oh,
because you're not coming with 20% down payment. So they need some kind of assurance, and that's what that insurance is for.
which is understandable. That's actually the first I'm hearing of that.
Yeah. Also, there's also the VA loan, which is backed by the US Department of Veterans Affairs. And this is amazing because you do not need a down payment. And yes, you do not need a down payment. And you can access up to 4% closing assistance.
Wow.
That's just amazing.
So that's basically for members of the military.
Yeah. Also, there are grants and programs that may be available to you through your state, your county, or your lender. So you just need to do your research and ask your lender questions to see what you may qualify for.
How do I acquire a loan or a mortgage now that I found the property and I'm sure that this is the one I want to buy? What are the steps that I should take?
Let's just say this. You don't start looking at properties before you know what your finances are. So the first thing you need to do is to get all your ducks in a row, as Jamaicans would say. So you would go ahead and review your credit history. If you have a delinquency such as late payments, such as student loans that you've been completely ignoring, those are on your credit report. A lender does not want to see that. So you want to go ahead and get those cleared out. Get get in good standing terms, basically, with all of your debt. And the next thing you want to do, this should be done at least 6 months out because it takes 6 months for stuff to reflect on your credit,
Oh,
right? Yes. So after you have that set, you want to start saving for your down payment if you haven't already. You want to identify what kind of property you like. You want to identify where you want to purchase because you have to think about taxes. Also, you want to choose a good lender. So start researching different banks or mortgage companies. Then you want to go ahead and get pre-approved by one of these lenders. And that's the process that you want to follow.
Okay. Guys, remember to turn on the bell icon so that you can get a notification whenever I post. Remember to like the video, leave a comment if there are questions that you want to ask, or if you just like the video and you'd like to share that information with us. Now, Olivia, finally, what is the process like for persons who, unlike us, are self-employed?
Well, I'm self-employed, just to say. But the most important thing here is documentation. Like this is very essential because it's easy to get your business finances mixed up with your personal finances. So you want to completely separate it. And if your business is not registered, you need to go ahead and register your business. No, you need to separate and have all of your tax records clear. So you separate your taxes and also have 3 years of tax records and 3 years of bank statements. And apart from that, there's not much difference to someone who is employed by someone else.
Okay. Well, that is also pretty amazing. Is there anything else that I missed, Olivia, that you want to tell our viewers about as it relates to acquiring a property in the US?
It's I know one of the things we had discussed off screen is homeowners insurance. I wanted to make it clear that homeowners insurance is a requirement by mortgage lenders here. So it's actually a requirement to purchase it before you can close.
Wow.
So you can't purchase the property and be like, I don't have to insure anything. Because the mortgage company wants to ensure that everything is covered. Who wants to give their money and then 2 weeks from now something happens and you can't pay for it?
Yeah. Or one fire later, you no longer have a property and they still need their money.
And you can't tell them, hey, there's no property, I can't pay you.
Exactly. Because now you'd need to transfer all that money to renting and so on.
Right.
All right, that's pretty awesome. Thanks for an awesome program, Olivia.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
But how can persons find you if they want to buy a house in the US with your assistance?
Persons can contact me through my website at www.c21nm.com/agent/MCCONNELL/ or they can just email me at olivia.mcconnell@c21nm.com.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to link it in the description below. So for persons who want to get in contact with Olivia, you can just simply click the link and you can talk to her. And when you purchase your first property, let me know, okay? So until next week, future millionaires, stay financially literate. Bye-bye.